Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending H.C. Wainwright's 22nd Annual Global Investment Conference. My name is Bhubalan Pacheppan. I'm a Wainwright Research Analyst. While we are virtual this year, we are confident we are going to be able to provide value to you with the 552 companies presenting at this conference, as well as via your interactions through one-on-one meetings. As you know, H.C. Wainwright is a full-service investment bank dedicated to providing corporate finance, strategic advisory, and related services to public and private companies across sectors and regions. We also provide research and sales and trading services to institutional investors, and we are pleased to have you with us today. For attendees at our healthcare company sessions this week, note that we offer 12 publishing senior healthcare analysts covering 380 healthcare companies, dedicated equity research for healthcare companies, ongoing doctor calls, disease symposiums, and other healthcare-focused events, and a total of 458 companies covered across all sectors. From a logistics standpoint, please make sure to reference your schedule sheet that provides your individual links to your meetings. Also, please do not miss our virtual entertainment event this evening. It's going to be fantastic. With that said, have a productive and enjoyable day, and I'd like to introduce our first presenter. I would like to welcome Joseph Kim, who is President and CEO of Inovio Pharmaceuticals. Inovio focuses on DNA medicines to treat HPV, cancer, and infectious diseases. Joseph, the floor is yours.
Thank you. It's great to be here this morning. Thank you for joining. I'll be sharing some of the exciting progress that Inovio is doing in the next 20 minutes. As you know, forward-looking statements, as we always do. So Inovio has built a powerful DNA medicines platform that uses precisely designed plasmids delivered with our proprietary smart delivery system called Selectra. Along with that, we have over 1,000 patents issued and pending protecting our platform, and we can generate powerful immune responses safely that can impact clinical results. So I'm going to show you how we do this, but some of the advantages of Inovio's platform is clinical efficacy demonstrated in phase 2b study for lead VGX-3100. We also have demonstrated safety that's been favorable and versatility of boosting of our platforms. Our immunotherapies and vaccines can be boosted, and we can rapidly manufacture with very stable products. Inovio is the only DNA vaccine that has shown to have thermal stability with shelf life of 5 years at refrigeration conditions and stable at room temperature for a year. So for things like COVID-19 vaccines, these are very important considerations. So again, 3 important parts really summarizes Inovio's advantage. One is a balanced immune responses that can generate both neutralizing antibodies and T cells. Number 2, we can do this very safely. And number 3, our products are stable even at room temperature. So I'm going to show you some of our pipeline products headlined by our HPV disease programs with VGX-3100, currently in phase 3 trials for treating cervical dysplasia caused by HPV 16 and 18 subtypes. We also have expanded the indications into phase 2 trials in vulvar and anal dysplasias. I'm going to be showing some of that data as well. Another of our very exciting product is a INO 3107 that treats orphan disease, RRP. We also have out-licensed our cancer therapeutics to AstraZeneca that's currently in phase 2 trials for head and neck cancer and other cancer types. We also have other cancer therapeutics, one for treating glioblastoma in collaborations with Regeneron. We also have a prostate therapeutics currently in clinical trials, phase 2 clinical trials with the Parker Institute. We have a whole host in addition to our infectious disease vaccines, really highlighted by INO 4800, which is our vaccine for COVID-19. And we also have a very exciting DMAb, DNA-launched monoclonal antibody program in clinical trials as well. So I'm going to take my first few minutes covering our exciting updates on COVID-19 vaccine development. As you know, Inovio has launched this COVID-19 vaccine program early in January. We have tested INO 4800 in various small animal models, mice, guinea pigs, rabbits, and then we were able to show protection in non-human primates. We also started in the spring phase 1 clinical trials, and first initially 40 healthy volunteers, 18 to 50. First subject was dosed in early April. In this clinical trial, we were able to show both neutralizing antibodies and T cells. In fact, all 40 subjects were able to demonstrate either neutralizing antibodies or T cell responses in this early phase 1 clinical trials. We have submitted the paper through a peer review process, and we're hopeful that the peer review process will complete and we can have a publication in the coming weeks. We were able to, as I mentioned, protect non-human primates from viral challenge of SARS-CoV-2 virus that causes COVID-19 disease. Unlike other vaccines, which were challenged at the peak of their immune response, Inovio wanted to test this in a more realistic setting where the immune responses will go into the memory state. So we did this by waiting 17 weeks from the start of the vaccination or 13 weeks after the last vaccination at week 4. And we challenged the monkeys with the virus. And we were pleased to see that these non-human primates vaccinated with INO 4800 were protected with a faster clearance of the virus, both in the lower lung, in the nasal passage, and we were able to see strong neutralizing antibody and T cell immune responses in these non-human primate, which were vaccinated with INO 4800, similar to what we saw in our phase 1 clinical trials with INO 4800. So what's next? Well, we're waiting for the FDA concurrence to start the phase 2-3 trials in the U.S. In September, and we're very confident that we will be able to do this with external funding. So stay tuned for that. In addition to our completion of our phase 1 trials in the U.S., we also have global trials, both in South Korea and in China that's ongoing. So I'm excited to share with you that the Chinese regulatory authorities have approved INO 4800 being tested in China. So the patient recruitment should be starting shortly in September. In addition, we had started earlier in the summer a trial conducted with our partner International Vaccine Institute in South Korea with funding from CEPI, and that trial has begun enrolling earlier this summer. So we have very diverse global trials going on, both here in the U.S., but also in South Korea and China as well. And remember, we're waiting to start the phase 2-3 efficacy trials later this month. And we're very confident that we would do this with external funding. Speaking of external funding, Inovio has built a global coalition of funders, manufacturers, and collaborators, really highlighted by CEPI, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the U.S. Department of Defense. Collectively have funded over $100 million in support of INO 4800 and our Selectra device development. We are also pleased to say that we have been growing our global coalition of manufacturing partners. In addition to our existing partner, Ology and Richter Helm, we are happy to present earlier this month that Thermo Fisher, a $160 billion corporation, has partnered with Inovio to manufacture up to 100 million doses of INO 4800 in 2021, and perhaps even more in 22 and beyond. So we have very strong partnerships with these contract manufacturers to manufacture our vaccine. Once we show that the vaccine is safe and efficacious through our clinical development, we will be able to concurrently manufacture these doses to supply globally. We also look forward to bringing in on additional manufacturers, both here in the U.S., Europe, and other parts of Asia, so we would have truly a global manufacturing consortium. Next, I'd like to touch on some of our other programs other than COVID-19 with expected important clinical data flow rest of 2020. The headlining that is our VGX-3100, which is our lead product currently in phase 3 trials for cervical dysplasia caused by HPV infection. We also have phase 2 trials ongoing for anal and vulvar dysplasia. And also, as I mentioned, AstraZeneca is conducting multiple trials with MEDI0457, which we have out-licensed to AZ several years back. So we have a very extensive HPV therapeutics program. I'm pleased to say that Inovio is on track to deliver top-line efficacy data from our REVEAL-1 phase 3 global pivotal trial for VGX-3100 by fourth quarter in 2020, so before the year end. Currently, we have enrolled about 200 patients for this trial, women with high-grade cervical dysplasia who have received 3 doses of VGX-3100. The primary endpoint is the regression of disease and clearance of the virus at week 36. And we're so much looking forward to sharing the data later this year of VGX-3100 REVEAL-1 data. As I mentioned, 3100 is also being tested for additional indications in phase 2 trials. The first is vulvar dysplasia. Second is anal dysplasia. Both of these indications are being tested in small phase 2 trials. Earlier this year, we were able to report on interim data for both vulvar and anal dysplasia, and we were very pleased and encouraged by the interim efficacy data that we have been seeing. For instance, in vulvar dysplasia, we're able to see 80% of the patients reported had decrease in lesions, which was very exciting. 20% had complete response, full resolution of dysplasia, and we also saw same 20% having the HPV virus 16 or 18 clearing. Similarly, for anal dysplasia, we saw 50% of the patients having their lesions, HPV 16 or 18 lesions clearing. Very exciting. And 75% of the patients total also saw a decrease in number of lesions. So these are very exciting data. We also plan to report the full complete data set from these 2 phase 2 trials by the end of this year. So we have lots of VGX-3100 data still coming in year 2020. Speaking of INO 3107, earlier this year received orphan designation against RRP. 3107 is positioned to be the first non-surgical immunotherapy for treating this horrible disease, recurrent respiratory papillomatosis. We will be enrolling up to 63 adult patients And our goal is to extend the time in between the surgical procedures. And we're very excited about this program, INO 3107. So please stay tuned. Moving on to our cancer program, really speaking about some of our very exciting immuno-oncology product is INO 5401. It's a combination of 3 of our top cancer antigens delivered with interleukin-12 as our molecular immune modulator in combination with Regeneron's PD-1 inhibitor. So GBM being one of the most deadly cancers out there, we wanted to test INO 5401 in newly not diagnosed GBM patients. So we have recruited 52 newly diagnosed glioblastoma patients. And I'm very pleased to say that at 12 months from the start of our receiving of our therapeutics, 52 patients, of the 52 patients, about 85% of them are alive at 12 months. And these very encouraging and promising data was presented at an oral presentation as a poster at the virtual ASCO meeting in late May this year. This was very encouraging because the historical value of OS12 for these patients is about 65%. This was on top of the progression-free survival that was also very exciting, which was at 6 months, which was presented at last November at the SITC conference. So what we're planning to do is we're following these patients further, and we plan to present overall survival at month 18 or OS 18 at a cancer conference later this year in November. So please stay tuned for this very encouraging and exciting data in this very devastating cancer called GBM. So lastly, I want to touch on our financials and our management team. Inovio is headed up by very seasoned veterans of biotechnology. Peter Keys, our CFO, Dr. Jackie Shea, our COO, and Dr. Laurent Homo is our CSO, and our board of directors are veterans of pharmaceutical industry and financial industry as well. Last quarter, in June 30th report, we ended our cash position with almost $372 million. This is multiple years of cash runway. We currently also have about 168 million shares outstanding. And our milestone for rest of 2020 is very plentiful. As I mentioned, we expect to report on our REVEAL-1 phase 3 top-line efficacy and safety data by the end of this year for VGX-3100. Also, before the end of this year, full data set for our phase 2 VIN and AIM clinical trials. AstraZeneca will also report on MEDI0457's progress in head and neck cancer this year, and we will continue to enroll and conduct our RRP therapeutic INO 3107. In cancer, we plan to report on OS 18 at a cancer conference for INO 5401. And of course, we will have multiple milestones for INO 4800, including start of phase 2-3 efficacy trials later in September. And as I mentioned, we're very confident that we will have external funding to support this. And also, we will be advancing several other vaccine programs Lassa and MERS going on. So lastly, I'd like to summarize saying how wonderful Inovio is doing in advancing our program, really advancing our DNA medicines platform, including all of these products. So I'd like to thank you for listening to our updates, and I look forward to fantastic 2020 and the rest of the year. Thank you.
In the interest of this concludes the current presentation. Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.